Welcome everyone to Meditation Mount, and thank you for joining us for this full moon meditation in the solar sign of Leo with the full moon in Aquarius. This evening, we're only doing this online. Recently, we've been meeting in person here at Meditation Mount in the auditorium. However, with all the heat that's going on, it's too hot to meet there. So all of us are meeting online at the moment. So let's take a moment to gather ourselves to prepare for our meditation, because we're going to be creating a field of resonance and a field of receptivity together. Because when we meditate, we are deeply connected on these inner levels with each other. So let us take a moment just to be still, to breathe gently, release any tensions we may be holding in our physical, emotional, or mental bodies. And bring ourselves present to a place of poise and stillness. And then entering into the silent space of the heart, we stand there. And from this place of love, we connect heart to heart, to heart, to heart, with all gathered for this meditation. And we see these many lines of lighted love that connect us, weaving together a field of receptivity and a field of radiation. And then let us be mindful of other groups who are meeting at this time. And we see them as points of light around the planet. And we, as a point of light, join with them to form this vast planetary network of light. This is the network of light out of which a new world will be born. And then bring yourself back to your waking consciousness with this awareness of our interconnectedness, which is the principle of unanimity. Everything holds together, everything hangs together. So let's say a few words about Leo. So first of all, Leo is a fire sign, and it supplies the needed solar power for purifying and clearing away those past patterns and forms of living that no longer serve. Leo provides what's called the burning ground. The burning ground is that particular section of the path that all aspirants and would-be servers tread and have to cross. And the sacrificial fire of Leo, because Leo is a fire sign, helps transform self-centeredness into selfless service. And that's what the burning ground does. It gets rid of all our personality issues, and it strips us and allows the truth of who we are to come forward. So it's a good thing, even though it sometimes is a painful thing to begin with. So Leo is also called the lion of assertion. And the keynotes of this sign are individuality, self-consciousness, and sensitivity. Leo is associated with the will to dominate, the will to illumine, and the will to gain knowledge. And all of this combined contributes to making Leo a battlefield of the forces of matter and the forces of light, as it's called in the teachings. A battlefield of the forces of matter and the forces of light. This is where Leo, the lower personality, and Leo, the soul, the sun, meet. So on a personal level, An intense sense of individuality is apt to make the Leo character think of themselves in somewhat dramatic fashion as the center of the universe. A Leo person can see themselves as the sole center of attention. And Leo is often associated as the sign of rulers and dictators. However, the true reflective consciousness, which is Leo's function to bring about, is an awareness of a greater reality. And that is the reality of the higher self, a realization of the inner sun. Leo is a sun sign. So the inner sun is that which we strive towards in Leo. And also in Leo, we understand the necessity for coexisting harmoniously with each other. So this particular sign of Leo offers an opportunity to access a more expanded universal consciousness and to establish contact with a deeper dimension of planetary purpose. So if you imagine the magnetic heart of Leo is accelerating a process, and this is the process of ascension to the realm of the soul, moving from the fourth realm or kingdom to the fifth realm or kingdom. And before the ascension, it's preceded by revelation. So this is a time of things being revealed. And the Ageless Wisdom teaching, as expressed by Master D.K. through the Alice Bailey books, informs us that the entire process of soul unfoldment is keyed to one great unfolding revelation of the soul of God. So let me quote from Alice Bailey's Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1, page 248, if you want to reference it later. A consciousness, an awareness, and a sensitivity to an ever widening and more inclusive contact is gradually being developed, and this is the consciousness of God, the awareness of the solar logos, and the sensitivity of the cosmic Son of God. So what's happening is that we're being sensitized to our true nature. Once we get in touch with the soul, the inner sun, then we come into alignment with the inner sun of the solar system, the heart of the sun. So another way of stating the shift from the lower to the higher aspect of Leo really could be summed up in the phrase, progress is made when the love of power is transformed into the power of love. I know that quote has been ascribed to Jimi Hendrix. I'm not sure who said it originally, but it makes sense. I'll say it again. Progress is made when the love of power is transformed into the power of love. So in addition to the focused energy of will and power, sensitivity is one of Leo's key conditioning elements. And depending on the level of spiritual awakening and maturity, this may be primarily a sensitivity to impacts from the surrounding environment, as well as from personal will and desire, or it may be at a deeper level, sensitivity to the subtle influence of the soul and to those refined cosmic intelligences that suffuse space. So I'd like to offer another quote from the Ageless Wisdom teaching, and this one concerns the problem of spiritual sensitivity for the soul-infused personality, which is the process whereby we grow the God person, the fourth and the fifth, merging. So let me read this from Esoteric Astrology, page 295. At this stage of spiritual unfoldment, the liberated man is not conditioned by his environment that he has outgrown, but begins the arduous task of conditioning his environment in relation to the divine plan and purpose, and at the same time to cultivate sensitivity to the higher impacts of those worlds which lead to the final goal. So this is an interesting stage we reach when we make that switch, because up to a certain point, we live in a field that is conditioned. And once we've liberated ourselves from that, we then become causal. We then start conditioning the field in which we live. And we do that once we've made contact with the inner sun, with the soul. So Leo is a very powerful and opportune time for touching into the soul. And it's useful to reflect on the spiritual motto of Leo, because it does describe the spiritual striving associated with this sign, and also the affirmation of the self. So the spiritual motto of Leo is, I am that, and that am I. It's an assertion. I am that, and that am I. So it's when the awakening of the consciousness of the deeper self is born. So let's have a look at the energies that govern Leo. So Leo is ruled both esoterically and exoterically by the sun. And the sun, in turn, focuses the influences of other planets, such as Neptune and Uranus. The sun itself transmits the energy of the second ray, which is the ray of love wisdom, which is the ray upon which our particular cosmos is born. We are a second ray cosmos, which really means that love and wisdom permeates everything, the whole of our solar system, the whole of creation. So it's true, love is all there is. The other thing which is useful to point out at this particular time of year, this present period falls under the influence of the constellation and is known as the time of Sirius. If you like, these are the dog days of summer, because Sirius is also called the dog star. Sirius is the great star of sensitivity, the brilliant eight-pointed star. So sensitivity comes back in, the ability to sense the deep truth of who we are. And this chain of sensitivity extends up from the Earth to Sirius. And Sirius is the great cosmic center of love energy that powerfully conditions Leo. Sirius is referred to as the sun of suns. And it represents celestial Isis, which is the female or receptive counterpart of the celestial giant Orion. So Sirius is the gracious, shining portal through which cosmic love flows into our solar system. I'd like to spend a few more minutes exploring Sirius, because it is a very important star in relationship to Earth. It's interesting to note that in the spiritual teachings, there's a very ancient relationship described between our Lord of the world, the being that ensouls this planet, who's called Sanat Kumara, and the Lord of Sirius. They're deeply connected, dharmic, karmic, who knows what it is, but they have a working partnership at the moment. And we know from Sirius, we get the Sirian law of freedom. The Sirian law of freedom governs all solar life. This is what makes it possible for free will and for choice. So the principle of freedom is the leavening energy that can permeate substance in a very exceptional and liberating way. So the divine principle of freedom represents an aspect of the influence that Sirius exerts upon our solar system, and particularly upon our planet. As we know, the fight for liberation and freedom has been key throughout all the ages, and freedom is one of the attributes of divinity. But the freedom for which people fight at the moment is a lower correspondence of cosmic freedom. Cosmic freedom is connected to certain great evolutionary developments that allow the life or spirit aspect to free itself from the impact, contact, and influence of substance. So at a cosmic level, the Syrian law of freedom is about the liberation from matter and the birth into a higher substance. So this great principle of freedom governs and underlies all evolutionary progress. So all of us are treading the path of liberation. And this path is aided by Sirius. I'd like to share a couple of pieces of, if you like, esoteric factoids, because they're very interesting. The knowledge of the importance of Sirius was well known in ancient times by esoteric scholars. This awareness was also safeguarded in the culture and mythology of a particular African tribe. And as we know, the mythology and folklore of indigenous people is often written off by modern day scholars because they just put it down to, well, it's just legend, it's just a way of people connecting with their ancestors and teaching the young generations about their culture. But this particular tribe I'm going to name in a moment, they had a deep understanding and the location of Sirius. And this was a phenomenon that wasn't discovered by modern science for hundreds of years later. The name of the tribe is the Dogon tribe. And they believe that centuries ago, their ancestors were a species of beings from the Sirius star system, which is actually 8.5 light years away from Earth. So the Dogon tribe had knowledge of the hidden star Sirius B long before European scientists. So even though the Dogon live in a very isolated area, an area of Mali called the Bandiagara escarpment, they somehow were connected with the understanding and the wisdom that lived in Egypt. So when the French anthropologist Marcel Griot learned of the Dogon's obsession with the Sirius star system, he found out that they had known about Sirius B for centuries. So the thing is, Sirius A is visible to the naked eye, but its companion white dwarf, Sirius B, was not known in the West and in the so-called modern world until the 1950s, and only with the aid of advanced telescopes. But this tribe, the Dogon, were well aware of its presence. They knew its orbital period. They knew all about it. So Sirius, the 8-pointed star, has been central to many civilizations. I know of one, the Etruscan civilization. I have a colleague who studies the Etruscans, and he told me that the research shows that they were deeply influenced and guided by Sirius. And in fact, they had a governing council, and it was comprised of 8 men and 8 women. And sort of we're thinking that that may have been chosen to represent the twin stars of Sirius A and Sirius B, the 8-pointed star. So I won't say any more, but the thing is, the destiny of our Earth is mysteriously intertwined with that of Sirius. So Leo transmits Sirian energy to Earth through Shambhala, which is called the center where the will of God is known, where the planetary purpose is held. It then flows and pours into the great center of love, the heart center of the planet, which is the 5th realm of soul-realized beings. And from there, it enters the planetary mind center of creative intelligence, which is the 4th realm, humanity. So it connects the whole thing. So as a worldwide group of servers, we're learning to stand steady in the light of this inner sun, the connection with Sirius, the connection with our inner sun, which is the light of our own sovereignty. And we're also learning to work joyfully and steadfastly in love together so that we can play our part within this great chain of sensitivity and blessing. The reason this shared work of spiritual activism is so needed at this time, actually more than ever before, is because we are going through a critical period in our human history. we're witnessing the dissolution and collapse of many old structures, while at the same time, we're seeing the birth of powerful new initiatives that are more in harmony with a soul-inspired society than some of the self-centered forms of the past. So as we look around the world at the moment, and as we stand inside the blessing of the constellation of Leo, we are in a time of both dire emergency and great emergence. So the reasons for meeting and meditating is so we can make a connection with the deep purpose of life. And then together, through the power of focused thought and a compassionate heart, we're able to make a positive difference and able to inaugurate a new period of living that is in right relationship with all beings who make up the multidimensional sentient system of lives that we call our beloved Earth. So that's probably enough of an introduction just to set the scene. So let's take a few deep breaths and allow this greater reality of which we are a part to register and to imprint itself in our awareness, to imprint itself in our blood and bones. We are part of a cosmic story and the outworking of cosmic destiny. So holding all these fiery impressions and energies in our collective heart and our collective mind, Diana now will lead us in our full moon meditation.
Hi, everybody. This is Diana. Thank you, Michael, for a wonderful introduction to this big full moon energy in Aquarius, lunar and solar Leo, which is what we're really focusing on in that Sirian energy. And I loved what you said about emergency leading to emerging, emergency to emerging. And isn't that what we're doing right now these days as a world? And as a one life, we are growing together in all the fits and starts and clunky and contractions of a birth and of a being born to the emergence that is coming and that is happening on our planet. So the full moon is exact tomorrow morning at 11:31. And I was looking a little bit at the chart, and I called it the standing in the power of the heart as the title of sort of the energies that are about us right now, and that we will hold inside our meditation when we do it to use that heart focus and that heart resonance to anchor these energies. Leo rules the heart, right, of the body parts of the body itself. And it is all about courage, right? The courage, the heart, courage, the bravery that it takes to keep your heart open in the emergency so that we can have that emergence that is happening. And we need a lot of midwives right now, for men and women, standing present like trees, like angels, like sentries, standing and holding the field open and clear so that it is as gentle of a birthing as possible. And it's hard to tell in this turbulence, that it might seem like that's not happening, but it is happening. And there are millions of conscious souls on this planet that are meditating right now for this full moon, that are awakened conscious souls. And so we work together as a one when we come together to meditate and we remember together to hold the field in love and in light and in power. Love, light, and power, which are the words of Leo, right? The heart is, Leo rules the heart and courage, light, love, and power. The sun is the ruling planet of Leo, right? So that's the light and the power and the connection to Sirius, double power, extra power, a double star, the wattage of that, to let yourself be accessible to that energy as we go into the meditation and use that energy to organize the self to it. So whatever needs to let go, lets go, and whatever needs to wake up, wakes up, and whatever needs to heighten, heightens, and whatever needs to be is. And so you put all that intentionality into this meditation so that you bring all that awareness into this meditation. There's a lot going on astrologically, as always, but there's extra more going on this whole year, and it has to do with those nodes and Pluto, changing signs and all these energies. But the one thing I'll say tonight for this full moon is that there's a lot of Venus energy happening. And I wanted to emphasize that because it's easy to emphasize, sort of the harder, more challenging aspects, which are also happening. But Venus is in a grand trine with subtle points, but sometimes more important for the spiritual ones. Venus is in a grand trine with the North Node. So Venus at 26 Leo, the North Node at 28 Aries, and the galactic center at 27 Sag. Grand trine energy, all working through Venus. And there's a yod with Venus at the point, the finger of God it's called, meaning destined. So Venus, the planet of love, is in as part of the yod with Neptune and Pluto. And what that means, Neptune and Pluto being the short end of the yod, means that it's a global, generational phenomenon that we're in and that this is about. And it is all about love. So how do we get into our hearts? By our breath, by our intention, by this Leo period that we're in, and with the super intelligence of the Aquarian full moon, right? That brilliance that Aquarius has, that brilliance of the future, of it, all the things that can be, all mixed into this full moon now. So when you're ready to, I think we'll start here. I think this is a good place to get yourself comfortable where you're sitting. And just take a couple of breaths through your heart center, through your Leo heart center. And let that light kind of move and breathe you. Clearing out the fields of your physical body so that the physical tension of the day just falls away now. It just falls away. Whatever's been going on or any physical pain that's been happening for a while, for right now, just let it fall off, going into the background of your attention and letting yourself come into a physically calm state by a breath. And then organize your emotional field and all the things that are happening emotionally in your life and around you. There's a lot of people are going through changes. You are too, probably. So much going on. And just with your breath, inhaling, and as you exhale, balancing the emotional body, coming into that peaceful heart that observes, that doesn't react, that witnesses, and that can hold the space for everyone, like a lighthouse of love. And as you get better and better at this over time, and as many of us have been meditating for a long, long time here in this group, particularly, but even if it's your first time, you're going with a lot of big meditators that are holding this field with us. And so we can just slip in, you can just step on to that higher speed, that higher vibration of consciousness that is in this space right now. And now we organize the mental body, which is the hardest one to organize. They're all different, though, of course, but the mental body, finally, on an exhalation, the mind comes into stillness. I've been teaching yoga for all my life, for more than 40 years. And I used to always use at the ending of class this first, it's actually the second line of the sutras that says, yoga is the settling of the mind into stillness. An uncommon definition, but it's at the heart of all of this, which is yoga, the balancing of the pairs of opposites in this dual experience place of earth. Bringing the mind now into stillness. And as you do sense from your heart center, all of the conscious hearts, all of these light posts around the planet, like diamonds, all around the planet, holding in this consciousness for the greatest good for all. The greatest good for all beings, which includes the oceans, which includes the mountains, which includes the trees and forests, which includes the land, which includes all the fauna and the animal kingdom and the mineral kingdom and the human kingdom. Holds for all, the highest good for all. And from that point of heart, send a line of light now into the head center, into the cave. And take your seat here as conscious soul. I and the soul are one. Om. And you feel the crown chakra open and available to this outpouring of light, this downpour of light, of intelligence, of divine light. Feeling that connection that moves from the heart to the heart of mind, to the heart of the soul, to the heart of the sun, all the way to the heart of Sirius. Feeling this alignment and those masters and teachers along the way like stations that hold these points of consciousness and that are supporting and helping in this great work. And in a moment, I'm going to give a seed thought for our silence that we'll use inside the silence. And the silence will be about 10 minutes. And so you have time to spread out and open into and line up with all of this light, letting it make its impression. on the consciousness without interfering with mind right now, but to let yourself be that empty chalice to be filled. So the seed thought that will move into the silence is, I stand in the power of love. Where the I becomes we for the greater good of all. I stand in the power of love, where the I becomes we for the greater good of all. light, love, and power. I stand in the power of love. We stand in the power of love. I stand in the power of love. We stand in the power of love. And with that, the self-centered transmutes into centered self. I stand in the power of love. We stand in the power of love. And letting all these energies now begin to circulate into the mental chalice, allowing them to take shape and form and thought over these minutes and hours and days as they turn into butterflies of action, of awarenesses, of invention, of creativity, of peace. Gradually letting your breath then begin to get deeper and fuller. Finding yourself present and in this time and space with all of this richness of light. And to close, we'll do the great invocation. And if you know it, you can say it with me. Or you can just listen along and feel the vibration of these words. And at the end, we'll follow with 3 ohms. From the point of light, within the mind of God, let light stream forth into all human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let love stream forth into all human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills. The purpose which the wise ones know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out. and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Michael.
And let's close with a final blessing here. We've been standing inside the illumination of the inner sun. And sun is the ruler of Leo. So let us stand as the soul revealed, the radiant soul revealed, which is the inner sun of our true identity. And let us take our place in the great chain of being and blessing so that we can, through the power of love, play our part. And before we send out 3 waves of blessing around the world, I invite us to ponder on this following affirmation. Be like the sun. Give freely of your light and warmth, asking for nothing in return. Be like the sun. Give freely of your light and warmth, asking for nothing in return. So standing in this liberated place of solar power, let us breathe out 3 waves of blessing to the planet with the sounding of the Tibetan bowl. Let us breathe out the fire of love, the power of love, and see this liberating force dissolve all barriers. May it assert the fact of the one soul of humanity. So together, let us focus our energy from the mind and the heart, and we send out a wave of this blessing to our world. And we see another wave of this power of love, removing all separation, reconnecting us as one humanity. And finally, with the third wave, we see the destiny of this planet to be itself a sun, a planet of light and love. This is what we're part of, the evolution of consciousness to give birth to a lighted planet, a planet of love. And with the Syrian law of freedom, let's proclaim, may love prevail, may freedom reign. And on behalf of Diana and myself and Joey, who is working the technical side of this broadcast, thank you everyone for your presence and participation in this full moon meditation. So from all of us here at Meditation Mount, we bid you farewell. We bid you good night. And we honor the shining sun that is the soul by saying Namaste. We salute the divinity in each other.